And before we get started, we have two matters on the calendar. One we expect will be relatively brief. I would like everybody to identify themselves, starting from Ed Schober, and we can call the agenda after that.
I'm Ed Schober, and I'm the first alternate on the board.
George Alzabak, voting member.
Michael Marcellus, Town Solicitor.
My name is Lisa Gescheit, and I'm the disciplinarian of the group.
Dave Collins, Vice Chair.
Jennifer Hilton Kavanaugh, voting member.
Jay Jackson, voting member.
Okay, well, the first matter on our agenda is a dimensional variance at 170 Russell Drive, Tiverton. Petition has been filed by Susan Borges, 170 Russell Drive, Tiverton, requesting a dimensional variance pursuant to Article 5, Section 1, the dimension regulations table, to construct an addition onto the residential home that would require a 5.1% lot coverage variance, where 23.3 is allowed due to the substandard lot of record, and 30.4% is proposed. The property is located in an R30 zoning district. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Court Chappelle on behalf of Susan Borges, who sits to my right, and Bill Smith is here. He did the engineering. I will try to be brief and give you an overview. That's basically a residential R30 lot. The lot is 9,221 feet, so you know it as a substandard lot of record. Under the new legislation, when you have a substandard lot of record, you have to try to figure out what the setbacks are, and you look to either the next closest residential or commercial district that has something that size. In this case, Tiverton has no district for 10,000 square foot lots or less. So you go to mere mathematical formulas by dividing 9,221 into 30,000, getting that percentage, and then reducing proportionately all of the setbacks and the lot coverage. What that allows is it allows zoning boards to sit less a little bit on all of these setbacks. And in this particular case, there are no setback relief required. Both the rear yard setback, the front yard setback, and the side yard setback are met. Unfortunately, there's also a mathematical equation for lot coverage. And in this particular case, with this particular addition and the deck, it would result in the need for a 5.1% increase over what would be allowed as a matter of right, which would be the 25.3%. Ms. Borges, I'll summarize. She's here. She's the owner of the house. This is not an Airbnb. This is a place where they're trying to move Mom in. Mom is currently disabled, and we expect her to be in a wheelchair, so they tasked their engine designer, I guess, he's not technically an architect, they tasked their designer with making it a little bit ADA compliant, so at least there was minimal room. You can see that the addition is fairly minimal, but when you start spinning in the wheelchairs, it's the least relief necessary. She'll tell you that the hardship wasn't caused by them. They bought the house. They didn't add the garage and then decide they couldn't put on an addition. And in your package were 3 letters of support from the neighbors. Most importantly, we always look to the 2 neighbors that are the closest. And although those neighbors may not, you may not be able to tell if you look to the properties that immediately abut the addition to the rear and the immediate to the side, those are 2 of the neighbors that have written you saying they have no objection, and the second person is on the other side, 1 house away. The person that's right next to him on the other side, the only other touching neighbor, unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago, and all we had was an oral discussion with him up until then, but he did not have an objection. So with that, if you need testimony, I'll swear in this recording.
Sure. Stenographer.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you.
You're the owner of the home?
My sister and I.
Okay, and who currently lives there?
My sister with her boyfriend and my niece.
Okay, and you are proposing an addition?
We are.
Can you tell us the purpose of the addition?
Yes. My mom was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and to care for her, we would like her to be close to our family, so attached to my sister's house. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know it's really hard.
So we have access to her all the time, but she still has as much freedom as we can give her.
Okay. And did you task a designer to try to meet those needs, both to get a minimal space that would fit with the least variances necessary and make some room for what you
Yes, we
kind
did.
of see in the future, unfortunately, right?
Yes, we did.
And do you believe that this is, I made it smaller and yelled at you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And after it went back twice with us telling you that it had to be the minimal relief, do you believe this now is the minimal relief necessary based on what you need to have an independent unit for your mother?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did you hear me say that the only variance requested was the lot coverage variance of 5.1% because your house with the garage already takes up your pre-existing non-conforming lot, or at least the allocation for what we call lot coverage? Anything else you want to add today?
No, we're just trying to keep her out of a nursing home and with the family.
I represented that there was a couple of neighbors that you went and talked to.
Yep.
And that would be the neighbor that is immediately to the west, which is
Yep.
the closest neighbor.
Yes.
And that neighbor gave you a letter of support that's in the file, is that right?
Yes, that neighbor is the one where this addition would actually be on there, so that they would be looking at it.
And then the neighbor immediately to the north, which is also the one closest to be
Yes.
looking at, that neighbor also gave you a letter of support.
Correct.
And the guy was out in his yard 2 doors down, and you asked him to sign as well, right?
Yes, yes.
You also talked to the neighbor immediately to the east?
Yes.
The one who passed away?
Yes.
And he had no objection, but unfortunately, we didn't
No.
get a letter, is that right?
Right.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
I believe that's all I have.
Okay. You want to put Mr. Smith on, or?
As long as, I'll put him on very quickly, just as,
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Bill, with our package, we submitted both a site plan and our calculations on how we calculated the reduced setbacks and what we needed for variance, is that right?
That's correct.
And this is a survey that you did so that it accurately reflects the field and the size of the lot?
That's correct. We did
And-
a property survey and a topographic survey.
And you also did it 2 or 3 times based on how many times we changed the building to
Yes.
try to make it smaller and minimize the variances, is that right?
That's correct.
And you're familiar enough with ADA compliance and wheelchairs that we looked at the inside to see that it has minimal room, but it has room to be able to spin those chairs in the,
Larger
especially.
hallways and large bathrooms, things like
Yeah,
that, yes.
okay. And do you believe that it is a good attempt to make this the minimal request to reasonable enjoy the property?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Smith or Ms. Borges?
I'll go with one. It appears that the addition is going to be almost entirely behind the existing house.
That's correct.
So it isn't going to really be visible from the street for the most part.
With the exception of just a small
Right.
portion of it, it will be completely screened by the house.
Right. Okay, that's all I had.
Does any member of the public wish to inquire of either of these witnesses? I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Impervious runoff.
So what we've included in the design, excuse me, because we are increasing the impervious cover on the property with the addition, is a infiltration trench over here to account for that additional runoff. So we will have no net increase in water coming off the property with the proposed work.
Great. I have one more question. The septic size, is it?
So septic system was DEM's filed in 2020, it was built after that, so it's virtually new. We will have to make a connection to that, so we will be, if the board sees fit to grant this, then we'll make an application to DEM to make the connection for that. We're going to remove one of the bedrooms in the house.
That was my question,
It's a 3-bedroom house
yeah.
and a 3-bedroom septic system, so we're going to remove one of the bedrooms here for the addition.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any member of the public wish to inquire? Seeing none? Anything you want to say?
No, I just
I think
think
you've
it's
said
the
it.
standards, you're familiar with the standards, I can put them
Yes.
on the record for you.
Okay, We're going to go into our deliberations now on this matter, and
Can I ask a legal question? Mike? The requirements for a special use permit have changed.
This is a
The
variance.
sixth,
it's a variance.
This is a dimensional.
I'm sorry.
This is a dimensional variance.
it is a variance. Am I-
They've changed as well, but they've changed to make it a little lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
Minimal really.
luckily, they have the dimensional variance requirements in front of them tonight because of the other matter, but it's the same, the standards that you have to apply for the other matter is this matter, so just apply those standards, please.
I just make a motion to move and approve the application.
You want to just state your reasons?
We need some facts.
I'm not I'll let Dave ask one.
Dave? Is it up to you?
Well, I'll throw some thoughts out. You can
Okay.
add to it.
I assume no one has a problem with this?
No.
This is the one for signage, right?
No, that's dimensional.
I could certainly quickly move to ask what I'm asking you to find, and then you could do it.
That would be
That would
nice.
help. I'm asking you to find for a dimensional variance, and under the new standards, there's a couple of things that happens. And the first is that there's the unique characters of the subject land or the structure. In this particular case, there's no other place to really put an addition. And it is a pre-existing, non-conforming 9,000 square foot lot. That alone, I think, makes it a unique characteristic. The second is that it's not due to the physical, economic, or disability of the applicant. We're not doing this because we're trying to make money. We're doing this because we are trying to have the reasonable use of protecting our mother and giving her a place to stay where we can take care of her. The hardship is not the result of prior action of this applicant. We didn't build this house and create a situation where we couldn't build an addition. This was a pre-built house. The granting of the request will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or the intent or purpose of the ordinance. Your ordinance allows these types of variances. In fact, under the new rules, may even be a modification that could have been granted in and of itself if there was no written formal objection filed within 14 days. It'll have the final thing is that it'll be more than a mere inconvenience to deny the same, and that the grant for relief is minimally reasonable for them to enjoy their property. That used to be a stronger standard as the least relief necessary. It's now just a minimal relief to make a reasonable use of the property.
And I think you testified that there were numerous iterations of those drawings to try to meet their standards, correct? Yeah.
And to make it smaller and more, make the space more accommodating, which would allow less variance for you.
And Mr. Smith testified to that fact, that he did draw several plans. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Nice job, Dave.
Yeah.
I'd like to include everything he said in my motion.
That's fine.
I'll
Second the
it.
motion.
What about adding the fact that all the neighbors are in support of this project?
That's fine. That's part of the record already? That's fine, yep.
It was in the record.
Correct, yep. Nobody testified against it, and that would certainly go to the least...
Surrounding area.
Surrounding area, yeah, sorry.
All right, second the motion.
All those in favor? Granted, unanimous, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
So the things that we have before you, the old standards, because this application predated, you were right, the standards that were before you would not apply in this case because it happened after the law changed. Right, so what we're doing with old standards for dimensional variances, especially use standards.
Do we have a copy of the new ones? Did we get it? Can we get it again?
I'm sorry, Dave.
Good luck.
Confusing, special use permit was,
Just like, I feel like we should get a revision.
we're gonna get a book.
Yeah.
But we're waiting, honestly,
Not that I want to do this ever
1942 or
again.
something like that.
we're waiting for the zoning,
Changes.
the changes to give you a book.
Yep. That's fair.
You ready for this?
I might,
I left
I
my
might be
notes at home.
retired by then. From zoning.
Okay, finding,
Reminders.
I'm looking for the agenda.
Here we go.
The second matter I have to be heard is a special use permit regarding seasons that has been continued from December 6th 2023, January 10th, 2024, February 22nd, 2024, March 6th, 2024, March 20th, 2004, April 29th, 2004, May 29th, 2004, July 17th, 2024, can I say that?
You said 2004.
Oh, sorry. August 22nd, 2024, November 6th, 2024, December 4th, 2024, January 14th, 2024, and April 2nd, 2005. And we have, just for the record, we have already,
25.
25, what did I say?
5.
So, this matter, the last time we were together, we had begun our deliberations, and before we get going, I just want to say, I hope this isn't going to be a rerun of the last meeting, which frankly was extremely difficult for me as the chair. I know you all are very interested and are passionate about the issue, and I respect that, and if I were in your shoes, I'd probably feel the same way. But this board works really hard, and there's a ton of material in here, and we don't deserve to be heckled. We don't deserve to be challenged that we don't know what we're talking about. And, you know, I don't want a repeat of that. I hope that you can respect that. I realize how you feel, and but unfortunately, this is not, you know, like a public referendum about, you know, who's going to win, and you know, and why. We are bound to follow the law in this case, and we have our ordinance, we have Supreme Court decisions that have defined both what the terms are that have the plaintiff or the applicant has to meet, and its burden of proof. And we have heard, I think that we've been very liberal in letting in a lot of your observations and feelings, and I hope that you can appreciate that a lot of the evidence that you provided has been determined not to be admissible or probative of property values declining or traffic hazards. That is something that has been reserved for experts, and we've had 2 experts in this case, and I appreciate everything that you've said, and I know it's from your heart, and but please don't shoot the messenger. We got to follow the law, and we got to do what we got to do. So with that, how would the board like to proceed? I mean, do we want to go through all of the?
So I think I read the transcript from the first to the last hearing. So we went through, the applicant and the objectors are entitled to findings of fact on each special use permit that's before them. We only went through the special use permit application for the gas pumps. So we ended kind of quickly. We went through the 6 criteria. People made comments on the record as to what they believe, whether or not the criteria was met and why. We ended at the last criteria for the pumps, which was it will be compatible with the comprehensive community plan of the town of Tiverton. I think we kind of stopped midway on that. If there was any more testimony, or excuse me, any more findings that the board wants to make with regard to that, or go back to any other findings of the 1 through 6, we can certainly do that. And then we can. Then we should go to the next, which would be, you know, depending, again, they're entitled to a decision on each special use permit, which is one is the gas, one is the signs, and one is the drive-through.
Drive-through.
So.
Let me throw something out.
Go ahead.
I mean, does it make any sense for us to basically have a preliminary vote of where we are on this, or not? Because we could be here all night again.
No, I mean, that's not how we should handle this like we handle every other case, and we don't, you know, you've had discussions, you can certainly, if you believe the record is creative enough and you can reach a decision, then you should vote on it. But if you want to add some stuff to the record, I know that we had a lot of interruptions last time, but if there's anything else that the board would like to, or a member would like to put on the record which way they feel that either supports or doesn't support this application for at least the gas pumps, then by all means, put it on the record and then move, and once we're done with that, you'll vote and then move to the next one. I don't think it should be treated any differently than any other application that we've had before. We don't take preliminary votes.
Okay, no, it just seems to me if we are going one way and it precludes the relief, then we're spinning our wheels on all the other things.
They still have the right to have
Okay.
findings on all the applications that are
Okay,
before them.
that's fine.
Mike, I'd like to know some restrictions, like the hours of operation
Yeah.
and those things. Where does that come in?
So that would be as part of your motion to approve or reject, depending upon where you want to go, but that should be made part of, I know there was talk about hours of operation limitations. There was talk about, and I looked through the record before I came here, there was some concessions regarding the lighting, internally lit versus externally lit that they've made, but I think those should be put if the board is inclined to, by the way, that's on the signage. But for the hours of operation for the gas station, if that's for the store, that's certainly, you can put that in as part of your motion. The conditions, and the board should vote on each of those as well.
So each one of those, like, hours of operations need to be voted on separately?
Stated as part of your decision, yes.
So we would either approve or deny with conditions.
Conditions, correct.
And then it would be an hourly. or
Correct.
whatever.
Okay, so where are we up to? Did we finish the gas pumps?
Well, I mean, it's up to you. We did go through each of the elements. There were comments. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything that they believe either supports or doesn't support the applicant on the gas pumps, which is a special use permit.
Well, I mean, I can barely remember what happened the last time. It was such a traumatic experience. I think that we have to decide whether the public convenience and the welfare plan will be served. There was a lot of evidence that was put forth by the applicant that militated in favor of granting it, such as the cleanup of a polluted site that for years was contaminated by the gas tanks that were there, and the applicant's willingness to remediate the pollution. I thought that the witness, Mr. Simpson, was extremely credible. I thought that he was, there was no contravening testimony, there was no contrary testimony to his testimony regarding the hazardous conditions, the fact that the spillage was going to be minimized by all of the current scientific state-of-the-art matters regarding, pollution. And I don't know if the public convenience goes to the additional tax revenues. No. But
Probably the comprehensive plan for that one.
yeah.
That's part of the comprehensive plan.
That's part of the comprehensive plan. I mean, the thing is that these public convenience, increasing the tax base could fit under that, but I think it's in a different category.
I'd like to add something or make a correction to that. Possible?
Yeah. I mean,
The property is not contaminated. The property has contaminant on it. These people would have not bought a contaminated property, with all due respect. I've been challenged about my expertise. This property is not contaminated. They've taken some contaminated after they dig the property out. If the property was contaminated, they will have to have dry well. They will have wells on the property. They will have containers to drill the water out and clean it constantly for the next 15 years. There is no such thing installed on that property. They're not doing well cleanup unless the lawyer can stand up there and tell me I'm wrong, All they're doing, which is that every gas station we build up, the one I built on Main Road up street from there, you do take some contaminant out, doesn't mean the property is contaminated. If that's property left on its own the way it is, it will be cleaned probably in the next 2, 3 years, 4 years. I just want to make that correction. I tried to make it last time, and I wasn't allowed to. It's not, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you when you were talking. On the other hand is to worry about, as a resident of town, sitting on the zoning board, to worry about what the town council concerned about, if it's good for the town or if it's the neighbors, because the tax or the comprehensive plan in the town, gas station and that property was not included in the comprehensive plan. The commercial property was not included as a gas station in the comprehensive plan. Neither on the Economic Development Committee, which is at one time I was a member of it, this comprehensive plan did not include a gas station. And frankly, I don't really care about the tax base because this affects a lot more than the quality of life for the neighbors, the quality of life for people in Tiverton. So it's not our job to worry about the tax base or the town council consider. It's a commercial zone, general commercial. That's the only consideration we have.
Well, my concern, George, is that you're not an expert. You are not sworn as an expert. You're not a witness in this case.
Ma'am, I listened to you for weeks saying every year, saying you're an attorney, practice attorney for years, and you know the law because you're a practice attorney, knowing that you're retired. I'm still in this business for 40 years, owned 6 gas stations, built one up the street, and built a lot of them. I'm not sworn expert, but I have an expertise in this business. And by law in Rhode Island, that counts.
Mr. Alzabak, you were not sworn, you were not subject to cross-examination, you were not a witness in this case, and you were not qualified as an expert.
I'm not.
It would be inappropriate for you to do that, since you are supposed to be unbiased and listen to this.
I'm unbiased, totally. I'm correcting a fact. It's a fact. You want a fact, I'm correcting it. It's not contaminated property. It's a fact.
So I think if the board certainly take his comments as you put as much weight on them. I believe there was a report submitted by the environmental engineer from Colbert, which indicated that there was contaminants found on the property. You can rely on that report. I believe at one point, I think it was even mentioned that it is a brownfield site. So, but that's in the record.
It's in the record on page 1,130 to 1,134.
Is there anything saying they're gonna clean up that property after they build it?
It
Continuous
does.
property?
It says, Eric Stimson testified that the site has pre-existing petroleum contaminants
Right.
and that the redevelopment would trigger DEM supervised remediation. He explained that the new infrastructure would include double-walled underground
That's-
storage tanks, USTS, vapor recovery, overfill protection, and brine sensors, features that RIDEM are standard.
Okay.
And that's also on the record for 1,138 to 1,140.
Okay, Jennifer, that's a standard on building every gas station.
I'm
on a
just reading
virgin-
from the record.
I'm
Thank you.
just clearing up what you're reading. It's on a virgin property. That's how you build gas pumps now. That doesn't mean it's contaminated or hasn't. I'm just clean. If you don't want to know, then you don't want to learn, that's fine. If you want to stay, read, and if you're okay with it, fine. I'm just clearing out. This, what they just read, it could be on a virgin property, it's the same. What property is contaminated, they will have to put wells, they will have to put containers, boxes on that property to recycle the water going through that property constantly. This is when it's contaminated property. There's nothing in that report said it's contaminated and they have to clean that property constantly. I have to do that on my property every.
Am I right that there's different levels of contamination? There's like the brown sites, there's like the Superfund sites, there's different
Yeah,
levels, no?
there's no contamination on property. They have to build it. In order to build it, they have to clean what exists as a dirt over there, take it and ship it out. That's on every pre-existing site.
It seems to me that what they're saying is that they recognize that they have a responsibility
I agree.
and that they have to meet all the legal requirements, that they acknowledge that they have them. And maybe it will follow whatever the laws are.
David, all I'm specifically saying to you guys, it is not contaminated property. It does have contaminant on it because it was original. because it was originally part of the process from taking the property, the water, dirt from down on the water, bringing it up there and turn it up through the years and clean it. So that's how they cleaned all the dirt for years from down the water. You guys were not in this business and watched it, we did. So the fact is, it has some contaminant on it, does not mean it like when you give them a golden star as dealing with contaminated property. It is not contaminated property. I will dare you to get up here and tell me if it's a contaminated property.
Nobody's saying it is. All we're saying is,
That's-
whatever the
what
law
is-
says is what they're gonna do. They agree to it.
Okay, I'm done.
Right?
Thank you. Okay. Agreed. No, all she read is built in, even on a virgin property, that's what they have to do. That's the new standard to put a gas station.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
understand?
good.
That's what that report is. No less, no more. Just verbiage you have to build a gas station.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you.
I'm just has nothing to do with brown property or not, and that's nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay.
So which one are we on now?
Well, we're on the gas station. It looks like we're on, I think the
Right.
chairwoman talked about public convenience and welfare, and number 1 and 2 are kind of related. It's kind of a review of where we've been, but we're still on the pumps.
Yeah, but which of the 6?
Well, again, we.
Well,
we-
not detrimental to the
Yeah,
public.
we've already went through these once. If you, again, hold on. I indicated that if you wanted to go through and add other facts or make other findings related to those, that's up to you.
I like to.
I'm sorry?
I like to add something to the nuisance.
Well, we're not up to that one yet. We're at not detrimental to the public health, safety, morals, and welfare. That's number 2.
And that included the traffic, is that right?
Well, obviously, I think it overlaps with the nuisance and the nuisance factor.
Right.
Now, you had some concerns with some of the traffic conclusions that
Yeah,
the engineer had come up with.
I did.
And can I address some of those?
Of course. I really want this to be,
I understand.
Collaborative bouncing of ideas off. No one person is controlling this, and I appreciate the input from everybody.
Okay. Concerning the 20% increase that they used, if you read the document, which is what, that's record 0104.
Can you give that number again? I'm sorry.
0104, page 8, first paragraph.
Thank you.
What it says is that they took data, traffic data, and they took it during COVID. And they were concerned that because they took the data during COVID, the data would not reflect the fact that traffic was lower. So they went to the state, and RIDOT told them that they had determined that the traffic was flowing at 80% of what it normally would during COVID. So they recommended increasing our numbers another 20%, which is what they did. But then the town refused to accept that data that was taken during COVID, so they went and did it again. And they did all their calculations with data that was collected after COVID, which didn't include that 20% increase. They didn't need it. The data already reflected that the fact that they had that they were taking data that was after COVID. So I don't know if that helps you.
Well, the problems that I have, and I don't mean, if anyone else wants to contribute before I say anything, that's fine.
I'll let you go and then I'll pop in.
I was concerned with the Parr and Shevlin evidence because it didn't, according to Mr. Meth, it didn't reflect normal conditions. And the normal conditions for 10 months or 9 months of the year is the school bus traffic that goes down Main Road. And there was no school bus traffic in the 2020
Either one.
21. And I don't know if this is a coincidence, but school closed 5 days before the,
It was June 28th and 29th.
yeah, and 23rd, I think there was some done on the 23rd.
That was on Sousa Road.
Yeah, but, it didn't take into consideration the school traffic, which is, the school bus traffic, which is incredibly significant. They found that they reported that there was no RIPTA bus line, but they completely left out the school bus, which is incredibly, it makes the road a gridlock. You cannot, it stops very frequently, and it backs up the traffic everywhere. So I had a problem with that.
Yeah, but it's doing that now, isn't it?
I was going to say, that's a pre-existing condition.
That's right.
And the one thing that John Shevlin testified on is that most of these trips to the gas station aren't new trips, they're pass-by trips. So the people that are stuck behind these school buses are maybe turning into the gas station or maybe continuing on, but the likelihood of someone leaving their home to go to the fuel station to fill up their car, highly unlikely. They're more than likely just passing by to pull in there. So the pre-existing, the pre-existing condition, the pre-existing condition's already there with the school buses.
Does that make any difference, really?
Does it?
I don't know. I think that it's going to, if we're dealing with school bus traffic,
Yeah.
two peak hours, and we add into that the
But are we
addition of
adding?
we add to that 3 entrances and exits into the
yeah,
gas
yep.
station. It's going to exacerbate.
Is it going to exacerbate it, though? It could.
It could.
The school buses stop the same
But they're
number of times.
I know, but people are still trying to get out of the gas station and get into the gas
But on
station.
the devil's advocate of all of this is we don't have an expert to say specifically that that's going to happen. Am I right or wrong?
Can I add something, or are you just going to talk on that side without looking at me? Because I have my hand up for a
I
while.
was looking at her because she was speaking.
I'm going to add something, I have my hand out.
Go ahead.
If people do specifically come to the stations, I'm just trying to correct, because of course I don't know but they do specifically come to the stations. And when this kind of business is specifically put coffee shops and restaurants and however they name their self-service on purpose of existence, is you do come out of your house without making your own coffee, because when you're going to get to that place, buy your coffee and buy your gas. So that is a stop people specifically go for. Yes, it will add stops. It will add nuisance. I'm not trying to correct you. It is people specifically come for it. They come to my station, knowing I don't have stops for coffees or anything. People come out to get their gas. Now, you add a fuel stop, you add a restaurant, you add all that. Yes, they do come for that. And it's their traffic expert who says, it doesn't add, they're going to come up and go by me, and this is the same traffic. If this is exactly as Mr. Jackson added, I believe this gentleman's study, when they open, it's not going to increase the traffic. If it really doesn't increase in that area and people don't go more often, these people will be out of business 3 minutes. They wanted to increase, not just regionally, not just locally, regionally, which is the argument I had all along last meeting and every meeting. They are counting on this place to get much busier than it is right now. Otherwise, they will not be here fighting or paying.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you completely. If
It
you're
is-
coming from Newport and you're driving through Portsmouth and there are no gas stations on the road and your car is out of gas, your car tells you the closest gas station is Seasons.
Lisi, my problem with the thing is, we keep talking about the amount of traffic. Their expert tried to argue with me that it works. It doesn't work on the size of the road. Facts or not, there's 2 lanes on that road with no breakdown. It's facts or not, with the paid expert going to sit and tell me it works. If facts, it doesn't work. I live it every day. You come in my station, it doesn't work. If we want to be serious about it, they did not do an accident study, they didn't do anything. I'll give you an accident study. If facts, don't laugh at me, Mike. I'll give you facts, it doesn't work. 2-lane traffic, I'm not asking your opinion. 2-lane traffic, it's simple as that.
It's also the only one.
I don't know if you're allowed to.
You're not allowed to speak. You didn't participate in all the hearings. You can't participate. You weren't here for all the hearings. No, everyone was here for all the hearings.
Except for Jennifer.
Jennifer was here, but she watched and submitted an affidavit, so,
I did too. I watched
well, you can't participate. I don't want to jeopardize this case.
Well, I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think that it's incredibly unsafe. When we listen to what Mr. Meth talked about, you know, with the 2 stop signs on the side roads controlling traffic, it creates conflicts, and I don't think it's safe. I mean, I really don't.
When you have, I'm sorry, can I continue to talk?
Yeah.
When you have, I always say, it's hard not to use your personal, I know we try not to use our personal experience, but it's still a fact. When you have, the public gets confused with a lot of traffic in front of them, the attention span gets very light, then they get confused and it causes accident. They don't know who's going where they're going, where they're stopping. That area with the sidewalk, with the crosswalk they put it, which is totally unacceptable. Actually, the crosswalk is going to create more issues than is actually not being there. You're going to add all these houses on top of it, which was not, to my satisfaction, was not addressed. It's a fact, was not addressed correctly, from all these people walking down, all traffic going down Sousa Road. You're creating a bottleneck in that area, and then you get all these deliveries. That is just that 2 road with no breakdown for their traffic expert to say, well, go around them. Well, you cannot go around them if you want to be legal about it. You can't go around them. You're not supposed to, legally. This is a traffic expert who's telling us, go around them.
I agree. I agree completely. That diminishes the reliability of the Pear and the Shevlin studies to me. It also, I think their credibility was lessened by the fact that they looked at the 2020 study that was done by the Beta company, and I have to go home and get my notes at our recess because I left them on my kitchen table. But the numbers that were done in 2020 in terms of volumes was a lot higher than Shevlin's study, even with the 20% increase. And Mr. Meth did the research and went back to an earlier study for 2013. And my apologies to Mr. DeVideo, I didn't think that study was particularly relevant given its remoteness. And, you know, but the fact is the numbers there were very, very different than what Shevlin and Parr came up with for the 2021 and 2022. They also didn't include Saturdays. And they didn't research any other earlier historical data, which I think is important.
You top that with the traffic count totally being wrong and not taking these trips into account. The speed, which I tried to tell them, did you take into account the speed of that road, how it is a lot faster? And he said, we took 30% or increased it 30%. I'm sorry, you go down that road, sit across from that parking lot. I sat in the old Little Bear and watched that traffic. I watch it on Stafford Road, watch it on Main Road, coming down that hill. Add all that count and all that traffic and these people trying to come out of that station. It's just...
Well, I think obviously the Sousa Road is the biggest problem of all. I mean, it's 11 feet. The area is completely overgrown. The striping on the pavement is gone. You cannot see a car coming from either your left or your right until you're in the intersection. And people speed on Sousa Road, like incredibly.
Add a delivery truck.
And if somebody is trying to pull in there, like someone's coming over the hill, I think it's a dangerous situation.
Add a delivery truck.
Yeah, no, exactly. All those deliveries. Was it 17 trucks that Mr. Meth testified to?
I'm just saying, add a delivery truck parked on the side of the road, tried to get in to make a gas delivery. Can I speak about the nuisance? No, that's not right.
We're talking about the traffic right now, and I just, one of the things that really bothers me is what you mentioned before. Like, we have Brookdale, which is a very large senior assisted living community. One of the neighbors got through the Freedom of Information Act, the ambulance runs to that place, and like they're 4 times a day they're going there. You know, what happens if the school buses are there and there's and also the villages? I mean, that's an over 55 community. And, you know, how are emergency vehicles going to get to where they need to go when the road's backed up and there's no way to get around them? There's nowhere to go.
I promise it will be. It will be backed up.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Two-lane traffic.
it's backed up when the buses are there. I
Right.
mean, so, I mean,
But to Jennifer's point, that's
Already
there now.
Yeah.
And then,
What you talk about, the
And-
buses,
but it's.
the ambulance,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
the buses, the ambulance, all the stuff you're talking about exists now without the gas station even being.
But when you add the gas station,
There's more-
it's going to be intensified, and it's going to be more gridlock.
Potentially.
But will it cause more accidents?
Well, I don't think that's the issue. It doesn't have to be, I mean, we're looking
Well,
at,
that's what it's gonna take to fix the road.
well,
well,
I don't think.
really, Dave?
Yes.
We'll put a gas station to fix a road, or fix a road first, then consider a gas station?
They-
Let's
They
build the
won't fix
building,
the
then
problem.
consider the road.
Hold on, one at a time, please, thank you.
Dave, the thought is not to put something in, then consider fixing the road. When they consider fixing the road, we'll talk about adding something in. That's how it works. Let's just not, really?
Private property.
Well, and what
Fix a
engineering
problem
is
that doesn't
that?
exist. There's no problem right now, according to the numbers. One accident a year is the average.
Well, you know what?
Wow.
Not everybody calls the police every time they get an offender bender. You know, especially since there's nowhere to stop or nowhere to go to do it.
Well, everybody has a cell phone now.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the police are going to be showing up, you know, immediately.
The only concern I have with kind of all of this discussion is we don't have expert testimony to say the opposite, you know? We don't have someone that specifically says, like even with Gordon Meth going through his study, it was very much comparing, in my opinion, it was very much comparing apples to oranges with the Seekonk property.
That's right.
It was just such a large
With the what property?
with the Seekonk property. It was the 1,200 square foot of retail space and 280 units, the mixed-use facility. Like, that was the study that he provided, rather than doing a study on this property. And that's like the concern I have, because we just don't have someone to say specifically, this is gonna be a problem, you know, for this property.
I agree with you, and I think Mr. Meth's, you know, testimony had its limitations.
Sure.
But the fact is that the volumes, the traffic volumes are so disparate
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, but that's because they were comparing two different sites.
But that's the problem with that study. There's a
That's
problem
right.
with everything they brought in front of us. That's what the fault was.
But that was Preserve Tiverton who brought that to
No,
us.
but even when I challenged Season about all their study, everything they put in front of us had full-lane traffic, everybody was pre-existing, everything they put in front of their expert did not match what they're building. Not a single one of them. Not single property they put in front of us, and I challenged every one of them. They don't have a single property match to this one. I keep going back
I understand
missing.
your point.
You don't understand the point? The point, everything they put in front of you during the traffic study had full-lane traffic. Full-lane traffic. They didn't have a single property
or at
have
least
that.
a turn lane.
A turn lane. They built them up. They had one
When
built.
they were comparing to other sites.
Right, So.
But that's, why would you want to compare to another site? There's no correlation there.
I just,
know.
again, wherever you want to find with regard to traffic, you've got to base it on the record that's before you, which is the traffic expert. The Supreme Court has said over and over again that lay testimony regarding lay testimony regarding traffic is not the purview of lay people. It is the purview of experts. So to the extent that Mr. Alzabek can point to the record where he believes his case is supported, he should be pointing to the record. To the extent that you guys can point to the record where you believe whether the record is good or not, that's where you need to point to. But lay testimony on traffic is a sure way of getting whatever decision you make.
Or our testimony. for
Or
that.
right,
Not
or your
our-
testimony,
not our-
you're
our
right.
testimony.
There's a sure way of getting whatever decision is made flipped if there's an appeal. So if you can point to the expert reports and support your position, please do so. But opinions of the board and what other, you have to look at this site and the study that was done for this site
and the expert reports that both applicants had opportunities to submit, and that's what you need to find. So you need to find based upon those reports. So,
Well, I think Mr. Meth's testimony,
that's fine.
you know, I love, I'm going to have to go home at some point and get my notes. Because I had all the citations in the record there, and it you know, he's talking about the fact that the coming from Sousa, it fails, you know, the stopping distance was an F coming from Sousa because of the limitations of the geography, of the hills, the curvatures in the road, the overgrowth of vegetation. I mean, this is really, I've read these cases, I read the transcripts so many times, and I've been back and forth with which way I'm going, but it just strikes me that, you know, when you have a report from the applicant's expert that doesn't include the bus traffic, doesn't include Saturdays, doesn't do the historical research into the earlier studies, which numbers contradict what the ones that they're looking for. And, you know, it seems like they purposely didn't study. I mean, is it a coincidence that 5 days after school closed, they go out to do another test? I mean, that really.
I mean, we cannot rely on our expert, right?
I'm sorry?
I mean, we cannot rely on our expert.
Well, it does. It makes me question the reliability of their data.
That means they're not that good of an expert.
You know, we don't have any testimony as to what the requirements are for doing testing as far as days of the week and that sort of thing.
No. you don't.
However, we know that it had to have been submitted to the state for their approval and that they did eventually approve it. We also know that the requirements come from, the AASHTO requirements, which are readily available online. You can read them. We don't have them in our testimony, but I don't have any problem having read those with what they did, because A, I know that what they did was proper, and B, the evidence we have was that the state, who was also an expert, I consider them an expert in this, said yes, the state was okay, and they did it correctly, and now they have a baseline for making future measurements.
And it was peer reviewed by Crossman Engineering, no? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. That's in the record, 1,441, if you need that.
Well, we don't know what they submitted to the state. I mean, we had two letters.
That's right. We don't know, but we do know that the document was approved, along with everything else that was submitted.
Well, they're not the only ones that get to weigh in on this. I mean, it's also our responsibility to look at it as well.
I agree, but unfortunately, we don't have any testimony on what is supposed to be in one of these tests, so we can't say that their test was wrong.
Is it your responsibility to know if the state approved it or not? This is what's in front of us.
That's in the record. That's evidence.
I mean, I think we're clearly split on this question.
Yeah.
But, if the volumes aren't accurate, and they're making predictions based on the volumes.
Yeah, but they really, we don't know that they're not equivalent, that they're wrong, because they looked at an entirely different site.
Preserve Tiverton? Preserve Tiverton?
Yeah, well.
They looked at a different
The
site?
document that we received from Tiverton Crossings had an entirely different site from our project.
But isn't it
And that determines the traffic flow and counts.
But both of those studied the intersection of Schooner, Main, and Sousa Road.
No, they didn't. They took models from ITE, the Institute of traffic engineers, we had a lot of testimony on this, they took models and they take a particular model for a site that has the equivalent size,
No,
right? And that determines what a expected traffic flow is. That's how they came up with their number.
But they-
They didn't measure anything.
but that they did. They did
No, they didn't.
the counts. They had the
They did
machine
not
that
do
measured
those.
the
That's
counts.
why they didn't have the safety information in that report, because they couldn't get it. They never took the data. It was all modeled based on the size of the project.
I disagree with you, because I thought they went out there and they were there for a couple of
Preserve
days.
Tiverton?
Huh?
Preserve Tiverton?
No, I'm talking about the car and
Okay.
and
Oh, yes,
Chevron.
they did.
They measured
They had
the
measured
number
data,
of
yes.
cars that were
But the
coming
other
and
one-
going.
Talking about the other.
The other one did not.
No, I know that, and I concede that that's a limitation
Right.
on his work. But, when you look at the volumes of traffic that were done in the 2013 study and the 2020 study,
Yeah.
and then you look at Shevlin's testimony and the Parr report, they don't jive. Why didn't they use the 2020 volume totals rather than, pick this 20, or go with this 20% inflation rate when they had a relatively recent count of the
They
traffic?
did.
They didn't. They did their own counts in 2021 and then added the 20% that the DOT recommended.
That was the first set of data.
Yes.
In the first report.
Yes.
And we didn't see that, we've never seen that report. The
Well,
second report is the one we got, and that was done on data that was actually measured. And, we have no idea what the first report actually said, because we never saw it. It was never entered.
When you're talking about the first report, you're talking about Paris' first report?
Yeah.
Or you're talking about the one that was from,
I'm talking about the PAR report.
okay?
The PAR, after COVID, PAR put together a report. And it was submitted to the town, but never accepted. We never saw it. We only saw the second report.
Would you say it was submitted to the planning board, correct? It was submitted to the planning
I
board.
assume it
right,
was
right.
the planning board.
Correct, right.
And they rejected it because it was based on COVID data.
Right. And then, right.
So it was redone,
Right.
and we saw
It
the
was
results.
updated. It was updated.
Okay, but the testing, the data was redone. Collection of data was redone.
That's accurate depiction of the record. There was retesting done because there was concerns raised. Yes, that is accurate.
But it was done also when the schools were out and
Yeah,
everything.
right.
Was done, faultily done, like not done correctly.
The only concern I had, I don't disagree with you.
So what,
Lucy.
I'm
Hold on,
sorry,
one at a time.
I'm not following what David, I'm still finishing with David. So what does that lifting your hand mean? Do you disagree what's done wrong?
I don't think it was done wrong, because I read the procedure. that-
It's done in the wrong time, done inaccurately, it's not done correctly. The school is out, it's not done, when I'm on a traffic study, when it's
We
in the
don't
worst
have
time,
any
not the
data-
easy
We don't
time.
have
One
any
at a time.
testimony that says it was wrong.
I'm sorry?
We don't have any testimony that said it was wrong.
Can I tell you something?
Do we?
Well, it was contradicted by Mr. Mess. I mean, he was the one that pointed out the flaws in their
Yeah, but
methodology.
you based his analysis on a report from the Tiverton Crossing.
Is that the 2013 one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was, at least it was historical data. And if you look at that one, and you look at the second one that was done in 2020, the VHB one, I might have the numbers wrong, or the alphabet wrong,
Well,
but,
they're the ones that did the Tiverton Crossing report.
now, there were two separate engineering firms that did a 2013
Crossman?
report and a 2020 report. There were two separate developments that were being considered. And it was,
But we only saw one.
well, I'm telling you, the numbers were part of Meth's testimony. And
I don't know.
the
Is that-
disparity in the numbers didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I think they had, when they did the one in June of '22, for the traffic coming down Sousa Road was like 78 cars, when the previous studies was, like 3 times that. And that was what Mr. Meth testified to.
But we never saw any reports from him.
No, he never did a report.
That's right.
But that to me doesn't make him not credible.
But we have no idea of where he got his data. You're saying
Well, he
that-
said he reviewed the application and then went back and did the historical research of going to the town and finding that 2013 study. And if you look at, I think he testified that in the appendix of the para report, they cited that 2020 study, which was not pre-COVID and was done during school hours, and the numbers are totally different. They're much higher in terms of the volume of traffic. And my only concern, to me, this whole case comes down to the safety issue, and
that's why we're spending a
yeah,
lot of time.
I know. It's just the numbers don't make any sense, and I think that Para was looking. Mr. Meth testified to this, that they weren't making the most conservative judgments, as he says. That's the standard practice in the trade, to make the most conservative predictions. And I wish I had my notes here. But they didn't make any sense to me. And the turning from Sousa onto Main.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The traffic from Sousa turning onto to Main Road, and from Main Road to Sousa Road. I think everybody agreed that it was that the sight lines were inadequate, and that there were only 2 11-foot lanes going east and west, and that the visibility was extremely poor until you got to the intersection. And you have the testimony that everybody's speeding coming down Main Road from the north, going south rather, from North Tiverton, and everybody's was going at least 10 miles over the speed limit. That was part of Shevlin's testimony, because there's basically nothing other than 3 houses in that area, and you're going downhill, and everybody's going too fast.
It's 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, whatever it is,
I'm
nobody
just
does
saying,
it.
it's not even, I'm just saying, it's 30 miles.
Yeah. I thought it was 35, but it doesn't matter. The turning is what's problematic to me. The fact that there's no turn lane, that there's no, that if someone's turning, everybody behind them, they have to wait for a clearing to get out, and everybody behind them is just sitting there.
Do you want Denise to get your notes? Denise to get your notes?
I'm sorry?
Do you want Denise to get your notes? She's offered to go get your notes.
Yeah. Could we just take a brief recess, please?
Just give me your house key.
It's not locked. There's somebody in it. I've gone, and I have a house guest, and I just had too many things going on, and I left something at home that I shouldn't have. But I was going to suggest that we go on to a different criteria for the gas station, so we don't waste any more time. And we can go back to the traffic and nuisance issue when my computer arrives. So, where are we now?
Number 6.
Where are we? Want to talk about the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, it's up to you. I'm just a lawyer.
Adequate,
Water and sewer, you should make.
water and sewer.
Okay.
Utilities and infrastructure.
Yeah. I don't think, that one shouldn't take very long. That, I think we can all agree that there's adequate provision made for water, sewage, and fire safety.
Yes.
Okay. And the last,
Based on what?
based on the fact that they have public water,
sewer.
and they have sewers, and I assume they're having bathrooms in the,
As shown on the plans.
as shown on the plans.
It's not-
Also, the fire suppression around
Yes.
the pumps is
Yes.
required by, I imagine, DEM.
And the sixth is whether it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Who wants to start that discussion?
I can jump in. Let's see, the planning expert, Edward Pimentel, testified that he uses advances in the Tiverton comprehensive plans, goals for Main Road, including the commercial revitalization, increased tax base, and improve access to public services. And that's in the record on page 974 and 229. And his conclusions were unrebutted by Preserve Tiverton, besides the fact that they talked about the historic preservation.
Right. I mean, the issue as far as the historic preservation, I don't think that being close is,
No, it's not. It's not in.
it's not in.
It's not in the
historic-
district.
Right. So, I don't have any problem with finding that making a finding that the station is consistent with the
But the
comprehensive plan.
comprehensive plan, gas station, is not included in Tiverton comprehensive plan. It's not.
Well, it's subject to a special use permit.
It wouldn't be in the comprehensive plan as
It's
a
a
use. It would not. It's the zoning code, the zoning reflects the comprehensive plan. You wouldn't have in the comprehensive plan, we need a gas station, we need a school, we need that wouldn't be in the comprehensive plan. It's a general planning document, so that's why you're not going to find a gas station listed in the comprehensive
So
plan.
I'm just saying, that property was in the comprehensive, general commercial.
Correct.
Right, I'm just following. So for us to even think that this somehow built the way they want to build it is, whoever put the comprehensive plan thought, geez, it could be a good gas station to put there. It really didn't have that in there. I don't think this is what the thought would have been. They did put it as a general commercial, knowing that that property is just, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't, I don't know, whatever.
I'm not sure I'm following you.
Whoever did this originally when they did the comprehensive plan, I don't think, sometimes we have honestly, I don't want to accuse anybody. When they did it, it just seemed like should have been more detail on that property that, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's part of our zoning that a gas station in that location is conditionally permitted, assuming that the applicant can meet its burden on the 6 criteria. So I'm not sure I understand what you're,
I was wrong.
okay. Okay, and so we're back to the drive-through? Should we start talking about the drive-through?
Yeah.
In terms of, what I said before about the traffic obviously goes with the drive-through.
All of
But, I did not particularly find that that would be a problem, because I think it could be regulated with conditions of hours of operation.
The entirety of it, or are we
Yeah.
going through the list?
No, we're talking about the entire, no, I'm going, starting through the beginning.
Okay,
of
so
dri-
the
of
public
drive-through.
convenience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to make findings on each of these, right?
Yeah.
So, when it comes to the welfare and the nuisance, I think a lot, I would incorporate a lot of what I said already with the traffic. But as far as, the sound, I think that the evidence was pretty clear that what do you call it?
You're talking about the menu?
The microphone, or the
sound.
ordering of the food.
Through the menu.
Right.
Right.
Sound would not carry to any neighboring residences. And I would also mention about going back to the pumps, that those ads at the pump when you're pumping gas, I don't think, the testimony from Mr. Simpson was that it wasn't going to be more than, was it 9 feet?
It's actually amazing. I don't know, like, it's just opinion and not fact-based, but if you actually, go drive by, gas station, you cannot hear those things, but in front of you, they're screaming at you.
I know.
But they really don't leave the site.
Jennifer, one day, I question, and I said to her, I corrected, some of the issues you have with the traffic through these things is the sound of the vehicles, not necessarily the sound of the microphone. If you got a diesel truck going through these things, and Jennifer one day said to me, do they leave the truck running? At 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, going through a drive-through, a diesel truck, which is a lot of them, it will travel a lot further than our property. Unless you live it and sit right next to it and hear it, it is brutal. And guess what? They do not want to shut the truck off. I'm at the pump and tell them shut it off, and they argue with me. Diesel owners do not want to shut the truck off. And they'll say, well, it's not dangerous. It's not gas truck. And to have that truck going through that drive-through through the whole spin, as you listen to it, you've got to have to go to a drive-through, listen to it yourself. And do you want a fact? Go watch it, and it's a fact that what caused for noise coming across that property. You don't have to stand next to it. Sit on the side of the road and hear it.
Well, the evidence that was presented by the applicant's expert was not contradicted by any expert testimony on behalf of the objectors or Preserve Tiverton.
I understand that.
So, and I've personally found Mr. Simpson to be a credible and very candid witness.
I agree.
I would like to make a suggestion that at the fuel pumps, that they can put video but no audio.
And why would that be? Do you disagree with the finding that it can be heard?
Yeah, I think it can be heard, especially at night.
How about at the sound levels of the
Like
ordinance?
Jennifer says, when you stand next to the thing, it's things screaming at you.
But
Ordinance
if you get
talks-
off-site, you can't hear them at all. You
I
can't.
can't hear them when I'm pumping gas.
Oh,
Unless I'm looking at them.
yeah.
Um,
Some of them are
I find them
noisy.
a distraction.
I would love to be able to click a
I find
button to
it-
shut them off,
Guys,
but
one at a time, guys, sorry.
sorry.
That's okay, I'm sorry, I'm rushing.
That's
in
my
myself.
fault. Here.
You're there to pump gas, and you got this thing barking at you. And, I think you need to pay attention to pumping gas.
I agree. I don't know too many people that go in there to watch the video.
Well, I think you get distracted by it.
You do.
When I looked at this requirement, I found it necessary to define what the drive-through is, because it's attached to the restaurant at the window. So I started by saying the drive-through is everything outside of the window, including the driveway and the menu board. And that way, I didn't have to worry about what was going on inside of the restaurant in support of the drive-through. I don't know if that's needed or not, but I felt it was useful when I was thinking about it.
Then there's a question about the queuing. There was a dispute between, I think it was Ms. Guglielmo that said, that there were like eight or nine cars could be there. And
Well,
Mr. Meth said, you got to leave space between each car, and that it could only accommodate fewer cars, because it was, what did he say, 25 feet? With
For
the
a
car
length
and
and the
the
space.
space.
There's an expert that said that?
Yeah,
There's
Mr. Meth.
Yeah. The evidence was the drawing showing the spaces. And it showed 10 spaces, which is the state requirement for Main Road. There isn't any requirement for Sousa Road entrance. But anyway, that's,
Well, we tried to make it as difficult as possible for them to stack in from Sousa Road. But when they moved the building, after we already agreed to split Sousa Road and not to be able to stack there, they moved the building further down toward the left and allowed the driveway to be wider, which is now would allow the stacking to happen again from Sousa Road, which is now gives them Sousa Road as a stacking point, which is originally when we discussed it with their attorney and they allowed to split the road, that entrance, which would eliminate no delivery from that road, and there's no stacking, they cannot come from Sousa Road to make a turn into the driveway, would have made it very difficult. They moved the building to widen the drive-through, and now you're giving them a whole Sousa Road as a stacking, which is, at the time, I was like, whoa, they moved the building.
so that was good.
That was bad, because now you're giving them Sousa Road as queuing.
As what?
Queuing, like they could queue more cars coming up Sousa Road rather than being inside their driveway, inside their parking lot.
Was there expert testimony to dispute that?
I don't, it's just the argument between me and their attorney and their expert.
I think if I understood it correctly, they were saying that, I believe the applicant's evidence was that they were, was space for 10, was it 10 cars?
Okay, I have 11 in my notes.
And
Well, the drawing clearly shows 10,
10.
Behind the building.
And it's behind the building,
and on the side,
on the side.
both
Right.
sides.
John Shevlin presented queuing data showing drive-through, blah, blah, blah. John
I'm
Shevlin.
sorry, what was that? please?
Sorry. John Shevlin presented queuing data showing the design can accommodate 11 vehicles in the stacking lane without impacting internal circulation or backing into Main Road. That's on page 15, so I don't know if that changed or not.
I think Mr. Meth said there were like 8
Okay.
cars could be there. So there was, with the.
But there's also no requirement.
Right. But I think the question is, I don't think, based on their evidence, that there was no concern that people were going to be queuing up on Sousa Road. But we'd be speculating.
Sure.
If we found that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant by
Yeah.
no evidence.
Right, right. So, I would tend to find that, personally, that
It's acceptable.
that's acceptable.
I'm in agreement.
And, the only thing that I would be concerned about would be the hours of operation of the business and making sure the lighting is not disruptive to people who are trying to sleep.
Yeah.
That could be a condition of the granting of the
Right.
special use permit.
Right.
That the lights be turned off when the business is closed. I think there was testimony in the record that they would do it, that they would need to leave safety lighting on for the security of the building
Right.
after that. So that's a condition that the board can consider when they consider granting or not granting a special use permit.
The other, is it compatible with neighboring uses and not adverse to the character of the area? I think it is compatible, and, there are a number of other drive-through coffee places on Main Road, so I don't think that,
Well, if it wasn't, the town would have made it a prohibitive use.
right. So, again, we have the nuisance and endangering traffic. Let's hold that for now. Again, there have been adequate provisions made for water, sewer, and fire safety based on the evidence that there's public water and sewers, and the fire plan, as Jay mentioned earlier, was adequate and consistent with the comprehensive plan. I don't see anything that is contrary. And I don't know if anyone else does, but, now we're left with the signage. Anybody want to have any questions about the signage? I mean, I know we were talking about the what do you call the thing?
Pectins.
Yeah, the pectins and the canopy.
I gave them, if I might, I gave them a list of the stuff that,
Oh, you couldn't find me, no. I don't know where the hell they are, thank you. Thank you very much. Did my dog bite me?
No, he's scary.
Yeah, I know, it's a point. Point when you live alone. Okay, so let's talk about the signage.
That was kind of confusing, I thought. My problem with that was they're allowed 2 signs, as I understand it, and that they've called for 9 signs, right?
Right.
And they haven't told us which ones they actually want, which ones have priority. Now,
I thought they did.
well, that's where it gets confusing. Maybe they did.
I think they did. It was the monuments. Oh, yeah.
The monument
There's a,
is a freestanding. That could be the one that's permitted for freestanding.
And I think they needed a height
Yeah.
variance.
Well, okay,
It's on that
that was the dimensional requirements.
Yeah.
Which I think relates to the new requirement at the back, at the end of the ordinance.
They have a setback requirement because of the,
Right.
because of the
Right,
location of the
that
sewer
one-
easement.
right. There's one for setback, well, I think that.
And the height.
And, yeah, the height. Well, the location, I guess, and I think that would be the height. But in any case, did they actually specify which ones they would,
So I'm looking
they have to
now.
have? or-
Freestanding monument sign, freestanding menu board.
Right,
wall
but they
sign.
can't have those 2.
What?
They can't have those 2.
Can?
They cannot,
Cannot. Without us.
without us giving them some sort of relief.
Yeah.
the other sign was on the canopy, which is, we went back and forth about it.
So I
about
have-
being internally lit.
I don't know which ones are required.
The sign on the canopy
A
being
variance.
internally.
One at a
lit.
time.
She wants me to repeat what
I know, but
said.
she was talking too. So I understand, but just one at a time. Can you hold on for a second? Go ahead.
Now, the dimensional requirements in the sign, normally they'd have to have a dimensional variance. But apparently with these new requirements, they don't need a dimensional variance. Is that true?
No, no. It's our sign, relief from our sign, which is a little awkward, but relief from our sign ordinance as it was written is actually a special use permit, and I think the standards are in. Normally, you're correct. You know, in a normal zoning issue, that dimensional sign regulations are dimensional relief, but because the way our ordinance is written, it's special use permit. So if you deviate from the signs dimensions, you need a special use permit.
So one of these 3 new requirements would cover the dimensional,
None of them. It's a different standard altogether.
I don't follow.
You have to follow, your instincts are correct. Normally, when you get relief from a sign, it's a dimensional, like, you know, it's too
Right.
high, too low, whatever.
Right.
But while our ordinance is written, it's a special use permit to get the relief. So we have say it's our ordinance says you have to have the sign can't be more than 10 feet, but they want to put a 15-foot sign. Normally, we'd say you go to get a dimensional requirement.
right.
But our ordinance says in order to get relief even for height, it's a special use permit, so it's not intuitive.
So just for the height, you would have to go through the entire list?
Correct, plus these other 3 criteria, correct. Just a quirk in our ordinance, hopefully it will be fixed, but.
I found some notes that I hope are accurate. The 2 signs were allowed, 9 were proposed, including the canopy, and that 7 were internally or backlit illuminated, only during business hours. And I believe that Mr. Stolzman said that they were going to not have them...
Illuminated, right?
Not the internally lit.
Correct.
Okay.
The only thing that I recall him testifying to is that, and again, this is a decision of this board. He testified about the branding and the requirement to get a waiver. That's his problem. This board can determine whether or not the signage is, even the pectins on the canopy, if it's this board's desire to put the pectins on the canopy to be externally lit, that's your decision, and they'll have to get their waivers, but we shouldn't be concerned what Shell does or doesn't like. You have to make the decision based upon the town's ordinances, not what Shell may or may not like. So that's a decision you have to make, but he did it. That was one of the relief that he was seeking, that those pectins on the canopy be internally lit.
So what standard will be used?
It's the special use permit criteria.
I mean, for each sign?
Yes.
Each of the 9 signs?
My thing was, there's no internally lit signs in Tiverton allowed, and especially on the canopies, they should not have any internally lit signs. And
I think we've already agreed not to do those.
yeah, I'm just following their explanation to that what it's a 3D lit, not internally lit. They have a 3D and light on the back of it, which is I still consider internally lit, and they should not. And my feeling is they could see Shell coming from miles away. They really don't have to be lit.
Well, one of the things that, let me just find my notes on the signage. The establishment of the sign in a completely conforming manner will result in significant damage to the associated business. To be honest, I just don't see that. I mean, I thought we were going to get some kind of like industrial psychologist to come and testify about the importance of, doing this, but I do not see how the need for 7 signs, in addition to the 2 that are allowed, in any way damages the business. I mean, it's clearly a gas station. It's really hard to miss it, and it's only really going to be visible for that short distance where the bends in the road, make it visible.
Well, clearly, the monument sign is a freestanding sign which is allowed, so we don't even need to address that one.
Right, and I think, frankly, that would be
You have to
sufficient.
address the
Setback.
setback.
Yeah,
Which is 0 feet, which requires relief.
Right.
So yes, okay.
And you also have to address the,
Now, how do you, they don't tell us how to, when we look at dimensional relief, what standard will we use?
the special use permit standard.
Which says that,
The 6 criteria?
The 6 criteria plus those other 3, yes. I know, Dave, I know you're trying, that's how our ordinance is written. so-
I know, I hear you. Okay.
At least the other thing I had mentioned to them, and they kind of agreed to it, there should not be any lit prices over the pumps, which is part of the thing too.
could you speak up? I'm having a hard...
Lit prices over the pump, they have their prices over the pump, which is not required by law. They put their prices over the
I think
pump.
they agreed to,
They agreed to remove
they
those.
agreed to remove those, and we should, that should be a stipulation if
Yeah.
there's an improvement.
I'm bringing that up.
So I guess we should just take each sign, each of the 9 signs, and most of these requirements for the special use permit really don't.
And that's the problem,
Apply.
but you have to apply them as best you can.
Well, public convenience will be served. Well, I suppose the public convenience of having it be identified as a gas station,
Right,
in a
restaurant.
restaurant. won't be detrimental to the public health, safety, or moral welfare. Well, you know, to the extent that it's shining in somebody's bedroom window and prohibiting them from sleeping, that's something. But again, we can control that by setting certainly restrictions on hours of operation.
Yep. And that it has to be, I think they called it night sky lighting or something like that. So it's all illuminating down instead of out, which will.
Which is a town ordinance.
It's a requirement of our ordinance.
But how do you do that with a sign?
Got it.
It's externally lit.
Then there's the issue of won't create a nuisance in the area or hinder or endanger vehicular or pedestrian movement. I don't see how that's really relevant to the signage, except for the fact that,
We've always worried about the height of the sign and
Right.
people walking underneath it, walking into the sign. It has to be high enough so people could get under a sign if it's not on the ground.
Well, it's surrounded by a whole flower shop, it's a,
Well, whatever it takes to keep people
yeah,
from
yeah, it's not, you're not
not
gonna-
being injured.
yeah.
It's, if you look at the pic, it's a monument with all flowers around the bed and everything.
I can't hear you, George.
I'm sorry, so it's got a flower bed around and everything, is no one's gonna be walking around it. It's got
Yeah.
look at in the picture, look in the drawing.
Could I ask the audience to refrain from comments? Because it's very distracting to the stenographer that's trying to take notes.
use the microphones too.
That's fair. So, I mean, I'm not having hearing George as well, and I'm.
I
sitting right next to
apologize,
him.
I'm good about talking in the microphone, I apologize.
So, I mean, the nuisance, again, I think that's something that can, I mean, I think that's self-explanatory, right? That as long as it's regulated by time hours of operation, and nobody drives into a sign or walks into a sign. And I didn't see that.
And what the sign says. And in this case, there aren't any, I haven't seen any signs that I have.
They were low-hanging fruit.
Well, there are certain messages you might not want on signs, not in this case, but it's possible. And so most of the requirements are met, really, is what you're saying. I mean, we don't need fire protection for signs, or
No?
sewage for signs.
No? And in terms of the comprehensive community, whether it's the signs are compatible with the comprehensive community plan?
Like, if I could bring something up on the monument, can I bring something for the monument sign? That honestly, I'm looking for the picture and I can't find it. So they could have a change in numbers electronically, but one thing, I'm looking for the picture, I can't find it. They cannot have it like scroll on boards, that's not allowed.
That's prohibited by our
By-
ordinance.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a couple places in town have them, so we're just gonna,
Well, they're not external, they're internal.
yeah, right, I'm trying, because they'd use some pictures in their presentation saying some people have them.
Okay, well, I just grabbed the record, page 441. That is the signage that is requested. And, well, the monument sign, the only issue is a setback issue, correct?
No,
And height.
height.
Anybody have, I don't have a problem with that, I don't think that's a problem. And then the fueling, the pectin, it's not going to,
Those are on the canopy.
yeah, on the canopy, right. And the convenience store has 3 signs. The season sign, I think those were the corner market sign and the welcome sign.
That we have spoken, I think, they agreed that there's too many signs on that building.
Well, the welcome sign, they had on a directional sign, as a directional sign. And I don't think it's a directional sign. And I also don't think you need a welcome sign
Thank you.
to tell you where the front door is to the building.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the welcome sign is really,
Well, the welcome sign is exempt from the sign count.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's allowed by ordinance.
Okay.
You gotta look at the exempt, not exempt. So what's not exempt is what the
Yeah, but
special use
what I'm
permit.
saying is, I don't believe,
He doesn't need relief for that. That's why it says
Exempt.
exempt.
because he's saying it's a directional sign.
No. You're talking about the convenience store. I believe it's on the building.
It is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is it allowed or? Is it? What's that?
Oh, it's me?
So it says required 4 square feet, provided 2.1. So does that mean,
You guys are older than that.
It says required.
what's that?
It says required.
Yeah, it says right next to the welcome on record number 440. On the welcome directional sign, it says required 4 square feet, and then it says provided 2.1 square feet. Does that mean
No relief is necessary.
no relief is necessary?
Except for the internal illumination.
Okay.
I think we should ask Mr. Stolzman just to quantify the signs and where they are. So we address this.
Can we do that? I'd love to do that.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Are you willing to speak to us, Mr. Stolzman?
Somebody could give me the chart. I apologize, I didn't bring a printed version.
That one.
Can you give me yours?
Oh yeah, the chart's in there.
Are you reopening the testimony, or is this just a
Just
question?
explanation.
Just explain.
We want to make sure that we
We want to address what you're asking
don't
for.
exactly, because I know you reduced the signage.
Yeah, you changed
We
them.
did, and in our variance chart that you held up, I'm sorry, deviation from the dimensional requirements chart, there's a column that says relief requested, and with those signs, when this was presented, we agreed that none of those signs would be internally
Right.
illuminated. And so I'm prepared to, but I'm happy to discuss any specific signs that you have
So
a
let me
question
just
on.
go top to bottom.
Yeah.
So the monument sign, the relief requested is the.
That's correct. The setback and
Setback
and the height,
and the height.
and the height was requested so we could put the stone base.
Right.
So that's true relief for one sign. And the
That's
LED
correct.
for the gas prices, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And not scrolling.
Correct.
There's no scrolling lights, we understand that.
So that's all part of the same relief. The height, the setback, and LED for the gas prices, right? That's one relief.
That's correct.
Fueling signs,
Are those the signs that you,
On top of the pumps.
Shell Pectin, right? Those are the,
Well, yeah, at the, on the canopy, we're requesting two, and I don't remember the exact dimensions, but two, one facing west and one facing south, I recall, pectins on the canopy.
internally illumination.
Cannot.
That's what it says.
but that,
That's
a request.
That's what we're requesting. And as I indicated, anything you do with signage and brand, it's our obligation to either comply, or it's our obligation to comply with your directive.
So that's one of the relief is that it be internally illuminated, as well as the number, the quantity, because it exceeds the 2 per.
That's
lot,
correct.
right? So that's another relief. Okay?
could you explain that again?
Sure. There's relief for that sign is based upon 2 factors. One, they're requesting that it be internally
lit,
illuminated.
yeah.
And that there be 2 extra, 2 signs,
Yeah.
and that exceeds the total signage that we are allowed to have
Right.
in a business zone. So that's 2 signs it's requesting that you really would not be allowed to have otherwise.
Thank you.
The fueling signs with the LED prices, there's no requirement there. That's
Right, but there's the machine, and then there's a sign on top, which are referred to as toppers sometimes.
Yes.
And we understand that if those are denied, we have to comply with that.
Okay.
But that is a request that we're making currently.
Yes, we are
that's
making.
8,
Okay.
right, so that's, yeah.
And the menu board?
Now, hold on, convenience stores. You don't have the thing in front of you, that's fine.
No.
The convenience store, Mr. Stoltzman, is the Seasons sign and the Corner Seasons Market. There's no relief requested there because you're going to comply with our,
Yes, except there's technically separate signs. We took out the internal illumination. And in terms of priorities, those would be a priority. That's the brand of the store, of the convenience store.
those are on the building.
On the building.
Right. So those are signs that will be on the building.
That's correct.
Coffee shop drive-through, these are the drive-through signs, correct?
That's correct.
So exempt from sign is no, this is an additional freestanding sign, I'm assuming to direct you through the drive-through as you walk in, that's what that is? Menu board, I'm sorry, no, the menu board. I'm
That's
sorry.
correct. It's the menu board itself.
It's the menu board. Before you get to the drive-through, so that's technically another sign. So that's why it needs relief for that, so. And then the drive-through, just the drive-through sign and the exit sign, internally illuminated.
That's correct, but we've...
Withdrew that, right?
We withdrew the internal illumination.
So would there be no relief granted that, or is that that is extra signage as well?
Well, those are considered, I think...
Directional.
Directional,
Right.
yeah.
So those would be exempt, correct?
That's
That's my understanding, so it's really the ones that we just talked about.
And
Oh, sorry if I...
if I'm sorry, no. We're both sorry.
Not sorrier than I am.
Going back to your welcome sign, it's not clear to me. I think that was considered directional as well, like that's the entrance welcome sign, but that's not, we'll comply with whatever the board's preference is on signage. Frankly, on all of the signage, we just have to make it work.
Okay. So shall we take it from the top? First one? I think the monument, we're okay with that, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
And how about the pectins?
That are not internally
Right.
lit. I'm fine with them, as long as they're not lit.
Well, that's a requirement. So you're going to grant the relief for the two signs as long as they're externally lit.
Externally.
Externally lit.
Well, they cannot be externally lit, these. These
sorry?
cannot be,
Well,
these.
whatever, that's our requirement. If they can't comply, so.
Okay, I'm just saying they cannot be external.
So they're allowing the two pectin signs on the canopy, but they have to be externally lit. That's what you guys are deciding. And if they can't be, that's whatever, but that's your requirement. That's not our problem, that's their problem.
Okay, the toppers, I don't see any need for them if the prices are on the pump.
And the monument, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not required anyway.
I don't have a problem with the sign seasons on the building.
The two of them. I mean, they do go together.
What,
Seasons and
There's the
then
corner market and the seasons on the building.
Seasons and corner market. Those are two separate signs, but they really go together.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody have a problem with that?
A lot of signs.
Sorry?
A lot of signs on one building. I mean, everybody knows it's season. They got a season already on the monument sign. I'm sorry. It just should be like, welcome to season or just season. It's just too many signs on one building. I understand it's their branding, but it's already out on the monument. It's a huge sign on the street, said season. I understand it's their branding, but it's two massive signs on one building.
I wouldn't call them massive.
They are huge. It's easy to look at the paper and say they're small. You got to see them in person.
Okay, the freestanding menu board, I think that's got,
Contingent on the drive-through, so.
it's got to be,
It's contingent on the drive-through, so
Right,
it's up to you.
right.
Whatever you decide on the drive-through, would make sense.
Yeah, but there's a height problem too, of about 7 inches or something like that.
No, that's on the menu board, no.
The menu board, well, they said there was a height problem
I think they withdrew that.
well, if you're happy, I'm happy.
So 5 feet's allowed? What does this thing say?
It said 5 feet is allowed, and let's see,
5.67?
something like that.
I don't know. I don't have that paper in front of me.
So we're talking about 6 inches?
That's small.
Yeah, it's minor, but
Minor, right?
Minor.
I don't have a problem.
Lisa, can I bring something to the attention of the board? And I know it is probably minor to what, so they're talking about the pectum on that canopy. My biggest concern with them, even when I argued, that whole canopy wrapped with a light. And I had problem with that. And I know it's not, it is part of the sign because it's internally lit. And we argued, me and him, about being internally lit and three-way lit. That should not be allowed to be lit.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
Okay,
think
but
it
we need to address it and put it on the
Yeah,
paper.
that will be addressed as a condition, if you so
I want to
agree.
make sure that
Yeah,
puts
I had that in my notes, no halo lighting on the canopy.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we done with the signs? The directional signs are exempt, yes?
Yes.
Have we covered them all?
I think so.
Okay. What does the board think is a fair hours of operation?
That's a tough one.
5 to 9, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. is my thought.
It is, as a resident of Tiverton, on the 3 gas station in town of Tiverton, it's 6 a.m. to 9. If you get up in the morning in Tiverton, it's 6 to 9. There's nothing happening after 9. Nothing good happening after 9. And nothing good happening before 6.
It was 9.
Dan?
I operate a gas station just up the street from that road.
I feel like anything I say is going to be poor, but, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, you know, third shift workers don't have the same schedule as you and I, you know, they're,
Please, please.
Speak up, please, we can't hear.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, you know, there are just a number of people that work third shift, nurses, truck drivers, there's like blue collar people that are working later. And not to say that 9's a late or early, you know, it's just restrictive.
It is restricted, but I really think that,
Yeah.
you know, to have, signs and traffic.
Yeah.
When everybody goes to bed at 8 o'clock.
Do we know what standard, nothing standard here, but do we know like what normal hours of operations are for fuel stations or around in town?
6 to 9.
Yours is it
6 to 9.
for all of them?
Some of them are less.
Okay.
The only station I know open further is Joe's up the street from me because it's a national company.
Okay.
And now they close at 10 o'clock. They used to be at midnight and they close at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And they used to be from 6 to 12 and now it's from 6 to 10.
I think 6 to 9 is reasonable.
I'm with whatever the board has to say.
Jay?
I don't have big feelings on it.
I proposed 5 because when I go to Boston, I'm on the road by 5:30, so if I wanted a cup of coffee, that would be there. But 6 o'clock is certainly reasonable in Tiverton.
Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. Have we gone through the supplemental? I think we sort of covered do we have to go through the separate signage?
No.
We've sort of already done
well,
that.
whatever the board decides, I think we're going to get a draft decision, and you'll have an opportunity to review the draft decision, so.
Okay.
Whatever the decision is.
Okay.
I'm not sure where we are yet, frankly.
So are we back to, back to the traffic?
Yeah, I guess if that's where we're back, yeah. We need-
Is there anything else that we want to discuss about the signage before we move on? I guess not.
I don't think so.
Okay, let's go back to the traffic stuff.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Give me a moment to get through my notes here. Dave, this is where the questions that I'm having. The PAR report reporting existing traffic volumes. Now, you're saying that there were no volumes noted in the first report during COVID?
We don't know because we never saw that first report.
Okay.
All we have seen is the November.
If you're going to talk, take it outside. I'm not going to say this again.
The document we saw,
Well, I have in my notes. and I may-
November 23.
March 18th, 2021, captured pedestrian and heavy vehicle traffic during the observation period. It did not capture school bus traffic, and that those numbers were inflated by 20%. And I thought there was a number that was given. And the second report had an observational period conducted by the applicant's expert, which didn't include the school buses. Again, there was no investigation as to when the school buses, by PAR rather, no investigation into when the school buses did run during the normal course of business. And I would think that that affects the level of service for those roads that we're looking at. And again, the PAR report didn't have any traffic totals for Saturdays, which Mr. Meth said were almost as busy as the evening hour peaks. It's on the record of 1836 to 37, and failed to consider new trips coming off 24 looking for gas. Again, I found that Meth's testimony had its limitations, such as not doing the work himself, but he also testified that he felt that, well, hold on, strike that. Meth testified that when the PAR report did its second study in June of 2022, it did not give an accurate picture of the volume of traffic that could be expected from this development. Comparing the two counts, the one during COVID and the second tally in June, the record indicates that the last day of school was the 17th, Meth discussed how it's important to look at other studies. I think I said this before.
So it seems that there's some confusion as to which reports they were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he was
And
referring to.
And what he said was that the 2013 report, which was the Tiverton Crossing report, showed rates, traffic counts twice what the PAR report said.
Yes.
And if you look at those two documents, they do in fact show a difference of 2 to 1.
Yeah.
So obviously, those are the two reports that he was referring to.
Right.
But we determined that there was no data collected for the Tiverton Crossing, or at least not presented in their report. And therefore, the only way they could come out with those counts was to use an ITE model, which showed, because of the fact that they were based on the proposed Tiverton crossing being a huge project compared to Seasons. Because of that, the counts were higher. So really, as you said earlier, they were comparing apples to oranges. And therefore, it was not valid.
But can I ask a question? Neither the traffic expert ever took any study what's coming off the highway. No one included that.
Well, the question is it relevant? And
Well, it's relevant if you keep saying it's a regional gas station. If you keep saying it's a regional gas station,
no, we aren't.
not
We're saying-
not you,
No,
them.
actually, nobody is. If you look in the ordinances, nothing in,
What
the
do you
word is
mean?
not used anywhere.
Not them, they use it more than once.
No, not in the ordinance. You won't find a definition in our ordinance.
Us, them, the applicant,
They said it was,
regional gas station. It's regional traffic. They wanted to come off the highway.
okay.
Okay? So that traffic is not counted in any of these reports, which is a problem. Which part are you missing?
What I'm missing is what we have in the way of evidence. And what we have in the way of evidence are the reports.
A paid expert by the applicant telling you those numbers that are missing some major number, and that's not good enough for you.
You're talking about Mr. Meth who said that?
Thank you. I'm all set. I withdraw.
One of the things that impressed me was the AASHTO
What is it?
requirement,
AAS?
AASHTO that Mr. Meth referred to.
Actually, they both referred to
Yeah,
it.
and which said that the person taking a left from Maine to Sousa, that it was, the turn lane, there were 10 warrants for a turn lane for it to be safe there, and he said it would greatly enhance the safety of the turns. Again, the turn lane to me is pretty important.
Well, specifically a left turn lane.
Yes.
A right turn is not considered to be a safety
Right.
concern as much as the left turn. And that's what they said in the RIDOT comment letter on the Seasons report.
And the VHB report, Schooner Drive eastbound, the left and right turns were already projected a level of service as an F for evenings and Saturday mid-peak hours.
Yeah, but that assumed a huge project, the Tiverton crossing.
Okay. Well, I guess what it comes down to, for me, is that the gridlock conditions that already exist are going to be intensified and exacerbated by having 2 additional uses on that property. They can already have, they can have a convenience store as a matter of right. But obviously, they're asking for these 2 uses to generate more business, which is going to generate more traffic and more left-hand turns in a place that's not safe because there are no turn lanes, and the visibility is poor coming both from Schooner and from Sousa. That's my concern. And obviously, the whole purpose of adding these 2 uses is to get more traffic and more business to their establishments. I mean, I just really uncomfortable with the safety angle.
I'm going to say, any business opens up a fact, they do traffic study to see if they're going to be successful in that place when they open. It doesn't matter what business. I guarantee you that's not the traffic they looked at for them to open that place, not the traffic we have in front of us. I guarantee it. When they did their own traffic study to see if they should buy that property and it would be successful, that's not what they put in front of you. That's all I'm going to tell you. Because when I did traffic study up on Main Road, it is busier. This is how you do this traffic study and you decide if you want to open and add businesses to your place. They expect it to get busier. If it doesn't get busy over there, they will not open.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But the only way you're going to find out if it's going to create a safety hazard is to find out, build and find out. If there isn't any additional accidents, RIDOT isn't going to spend millions of dollars to fix the road.
And if there are fatalities,
Then they have to fix it.
well, isn't that a little late?
But they're not going to spend any money now. That's what we were told in the evidence. We were told that if the town identified a problem, it was the police department and their records that would be the starting point. And they would go to the town council, and then the town council would send a letter to RIDOT requesting
Wait,
that the correction be made.
wait. I'm sorry, you're going way off base, because I'm going to stop you there. The police chief is in this building. I have personally approached the police chief and asked, Stafford Road in front of my station is brutal. We've got more accidents. That's totally off base, what you just said, and totally wrong. Totally off base. We've asked for more police present on Stafford Road. It's totally off base and unacceptable. That's not how it works, not a town council, not a police chief, nothing. They will tell you it's state road and good luck. I've already asked. I've already more accidents in front of my station. Thank God we have not had any fatality yet, but let me tell you, it's coming. And they haven't put cops in front of that road. So please, don't make statements that is absolutely untrue and you cannot support.
My statement was that was the testimony that was presented.
It's wrong.
Well, okay, I'm just telling you what the testimony was.
I think in the memorandum we got from Seasons, they cited that a special use permit cannot be denied on the ground that a certain condition would arise when that condition could equally occur with a permitted use. So if they put that liquor store in there that they talked about, that didn't need any special permission to operate, wouldn't have to come before the board. There would be no discussion about traffic because they have the right to do that.
Jay makes a
And
good
we
point.
wouldn't have the same traffic count.
But actually, Jay makes a good point because
And that's that.
the
just let
trip.
me-
Yeah, please.
That's some citing of some law thing. Central Corp versus Zoning Board of Review of, didn't say it.
I was about to say, Jay makes a good point, because if you were to put a liquor store or not a library, a bookstore or something else, those are specific, it's not a drive-by, it's not someone going there that is passing by. Maybe they are, but by and far, it's someone leaving their home to go to a liquor store, leaving their home to go to a bookstore, leaving their home to go to a law office, rather than a fuel station. It's what do they call it, a pass-by?
Pass-by.
Pass-by travel or pass-by car, so they're not making it specific. So the argument would be, and Jay mentioned that we kind of have to base our opinion or our decision off of that, if I'm correct.
So Jennifer, I'm just going to give you one number. I sell 135,000 gallon a month.
Okay.
I think if they sell 135,000 gallon a month, they'd be in trouble. So I sell out of two pumps, 135,000 gallon a month, right? That's 550 cars a month coming in and out of my station. I'm sorry. It's 400 cars a day coming out of my station every day, at 135,000 gallon a month. They're going to do double that, which is mean 800 cars. I would love to have that liquor store that is going to have 800 cars coming in and out of it. We'll love to.
I just got to caution the board, you have to make your decision on the expert reports that are before you. That's what you need to base your traffic counts. I'm not suggesting I'm correcting, I'm not, just letting you know that the Supreme Court has indicated time and time again that traffic decisions are to be made upon expert reports only. And that's where we are.
Well, that's a concern, right? So
Right.
like if we all have feelings that, this may be not safe in the future, which I think we all have that concern for the town. Like we all live here, obviously. We don't want fatalities. We don't want people to get injured. But at the end of the day, we have to base our findings on factual evidence that was presented to us by both parties, not by what we feel, not by what the public feels. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And I completely agree with you. I completely agree with, the public. And it's concerning. But at the end of the day, we have to base everything off of what's in front of us. Did someone say no? I mean, literally. Because if we say no based on our feelings, it just goes up to the court and it gets overturned. And it doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been back and forth on this in my own mind.
Yeah. I think we all feel strongly that no one wants to put our town in a position that there's going to be liability and accidents.
One thing I found really interesting in the cases that were cited, and I'm referring to Perrin versus Zoning Board of Review for the town of Burrillville. And it really is exactly what we're dealing with. It's a situation where the traffic question was predominant, and somebody on the board there had professed no expertise, ventured no opinion about traffic congestion or hazard would result if the petition were granted. The testimony is an insufficient prop for denying an exception or a special use permit. A mere increase of traffic at the location of the proposed use, unaccompanied by a resulting traffic intensification of traffic congestion or hazard, that's not a valid zoning criterion. Moreover, the testimony is ambiguous. The witness may have meant that the volume of traffic on Top Round Road was too great, or he may have meant that the traffic problems at the site, whatever they might be, were solely due to the poor state of repair of the state highway. If the latter was intended, the meaning, the problem could have been solved by conditioning the grant of an exception upon the repair of the highway. Like, how does that make any sense? I think everybody agreed.
Well, you have to understand that there was a condition, a deficient condition. What's our deficient condition?
The fact that our roads are narrow and, the left turns are problematic. I mean, I think everybody agreed that Sousa Road didn't have the adequate sight distance to make the turn.
Was there, remind me, because I don't have it in front of me, I didn't write it down, but did the experts mention that the sight lines would get better once it was cleared?
Yeah, but who clears it? Do they own that property?
The corner lot?
No, if you're coming down Sousa Road towards Maine.
It's probably the town.
Who owns the property? I mean, who owns the property? I mean, can you expect?
On the corner?
No.
No.
If you're coming down Sousa Road towards the proposed site.
Okay. Oh, before you get to the actual corner. Got it.
You have a map.
How do you widen Main Road? How do you widen Main Road? How do you make it wider?
You don't, unless you're going to take everybody's
We don't,
property
the
by
state
eminent
does.
domain.
I'm sorry?
No, you don't have to. The state already
Yeah.
owns it.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying, you're saying build it and we'll fix
They don't
it.
own Sousa Road, do
No,
they?
that's true.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just saying, build it, they will fix it. I'll just fix it.
Could you please keep the noise down?
Wait, the
If you're going to talk, go outside. It's really disconcerting. We're struggling with these issues, and your background noise is really distracting.
The state does own Sousa Road. They're both state roads.
I didn't, are they?
Yeah.
I think Sousa's
Sousa State.
It is, okay. I mean, I think everybody agreed that you couldn't even see the lines on the road on Sousa Road.
Yeah.
And there's no breakdown lane there.
No, there's no shoulder.
There's nothing. So, I mean, that, I don't know, I'm troubled by it, I really am. And I've really been back and forth on this in my own mind.
Well, it's clear that the highway will eventually, the main road will eventually have to be improved.
And
How?
we-
Widen it?
Whatever it takes. Widen, they could be widened.
You want to be witness for whatever for the next 10 years until widen?
Well, I mean, there's two major developments going in too. So
Really?
there's going to be an
The road has
increase.
to be widened. When they do it, I don't know. Whenever they decide it's ready to, it needs to be widened. If they thought it was needed to be widened now, they would have widened it, right?
I don't think they make the decisions based on the need. I think that obviously having the funds to make changes.
That's the big,
is the
I didn't
big
want to say that,
question. Yeah.
but that's the fact.
Yeah, that
And
is
the
the
funds
fact.
won't be there unless there's a need, unless there's a clear need.
The funds might not be there even if there
I
is a
know,
need.
they're paying for a bridge. I know.
Yeah. And, you know, the proposed residential developments up Sousa Road is gonna,
There's going to be an increase in traffic regardless if this passes or doesn't pass. So I think this intersection is going to be a huge bane of our existence, for maybe not ours as the zoning board, but as the public. It will be a problem. And yeah, it will be a problem, 100%, whether this passes or not. So, but that's going to be the state's responsibility once there's a major problem. With or without this development, with or without this construction.
You said what I was trying to say better.
It's going to be a problem. It is a problem. But it's going to be worse once we put in 600 housing units.
you know, Main Road is just not a functioning, safe, and the side streets are even less so.
It's hundreds of years old.
I know.
They never build Main Road today. Doesn't meet any standards of any kind.
Well,
I just don't know how we're basing our decision, you know? I mean, I think we all feel very similarly on, it's more, is it going to hold up in court, is what I mean.
you know, if you look at this,
Not my problem.
if you look at this,
I mean, we want to
and
make
we know
decisions.
the realities of the location
Yeah.
and everything, what, aren't we rewriting the standards?
Or creating them.
You know, I mean, all of a sudden, you know, it's like, it's nuisance or hinder vehicular traffic. Is it safe for the community? I mean, it seems to me that we got to give those words some meaning, but on the other hand, you know, the case law is evolving. I mean, in the beginning, you know, just creating more traffic was a reason to deny it. And then if it was intensification, it had to be, you know, I mean, the standard keeps getting less strong to the point where if it's going to be dangerous, if you just let the convenience store be there, that's okay. You know, that's okay. I mean, you know, so it seems like we're really unable to make a decision. If we're making the decision based on what's going to hold up in court, as I think we must, it's such a conflict for me because I really feel like I'm violating my duty to the community to enforce these.
I feel that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
No one, I will reiterate this again, no one wants a dangerous area for anyone in our town, including myself, you know? I built my house here in 2018, I'm not going anywhere. I'm 33 years old.
Stop bragging. All right, well, I don't know. I guess, have we talked this to death?
Yeah.
So, is anyone prepared to make a motion?
No.
Don't all speak at once.
You wrote it, let's do it.
No. I think we're all struggling with it, like emotionally, not factually. I mean, factually, the facts are right in front of us, but.
As, you know, the only thing I'm struggling with is the traffic and the safety.
Okay.
You know, I think everything else, the applicant has met its burden.
I agree.
Do we need one motion or do we need three?
3 separate motions for each special use permit.
I agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
I agree with that
Oh, thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Finally, I agree with something you said.
Stay along long enough, I guess,
Do you
right?
want to
Yeah,
do the
no,
easy
I
ones
hope not.
first?
You can do it.
I could,
Come on, guys, you gotta make a decision. This is what, let's make a motion, let's
I think
move
we have
on.
a hung jury.
Well, there's no such thing as hungry. You have to make a motion, you have to vote. That's what you're here to do.
Well, let's start with the easy ones. Do we have to restate the whole thing again?
No, I think you have enough facts on the record that I can get a decision out, depending, at least on the easier ones, yes. I think you don't, so you got enough facts on the records that I'll be able to draft a decision, so,
It is-
for the easier ones.
it
The
is,
easier one.
I mean,
it is important for us as a board to go for the gas first, because as a member, I have different votes on the different things. I prefer you go for the hard one first, so you go, and I'll go, for the gas, go with the gas first, go for the hard one.
Well, as you stated, we have to come up with a decision that would survive a challenge in court. Right?
Right.
And anybody disagree with that?
I do,
I agree with you.
100%, not your job.
Why do you disagree? Why-
Because we, not the lawyer. Let the lawyer do their job. We do our job at a zoning board. He wants to earn his money, and the other wants to earn their money. That's their job. You sit here as a zoning board member, not as an attorney. Let them do their job. You vote what your conscience or what you believe is on the paper in front of you.
okay, let me just.
Let me just
Go ahead,
finish, please.
go ahead.
Don't interrupt me.
Yeah, I won't.
So I don't care what Mike has to do to fight this zoning board member. That's how I feel personally. That's it. That's my opinion. That's why I disagree. He wants to earn his money, let him go earn it.
Well, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to vote with your heart when it's not supported by the law, so our taxpayers have to pay additional legal
Then
fees.
someone's going to appeal this decision, doesn't matter who. We all go into court after this decision.
Well, let me just remind the board that your job is to find and make a decision based upon the facts, not on your personal opinion. Can I speak now? Not on your personal opinion. It is your job, in fairness to both the applicant and the objectors, to make a decision based upon the facts that are before you. You have to find facts. You have to make a decision. I'm going to remind this board that this board successfully reversed the planning board because on the denial of a master plan permit, because they didn't do their job, and they relied upon facts and opinions that were not valid, and they were flipped. And this board, at that time, did the right thing, and they found that they reversed the planning board, and that decision was upheld by the court, because you did the right thing. Again, you need to find the facts, you need to make a decision, and again, both the applicant and the objectors have a right to expect that you will do your job, not on what your emotions are. There are facts in the record, you've already discussed them, make a decision.
Okay, so as far as the gas station,
As far as the gas
Pumps,
station?
the pumps.
The pumps. Do people agree that the facts state that we have to approve?
No, you just make a motion.
Just make a motion whether to approve the special use permit and grant the pumps. And then And then we've already had a discussion of the facts, and we will fit the facts to the decision of the board.
All right. The petitioner has requested,
Could you speak louder?
the petitioner has requested that we approve a special use permit for the gas station. And we have heard a lot of testimony. Now, are we going to have to get into the traffic issue at this point?
Well, the vote will determine, I think there's been enough evidence on both sides, so whatever the vote goes, I mean, you should just, I think both sides have indicated what they believe the strengths and the weaknesses of the traffic study were. That's only one factor, right? That's not all the factors, but, so, I think there's enough in the record that whatever you vote, we could decide what we need to do.
I'll just throw it out there to get it started. I make the motion that we grant the special use permit for the gas station.
Gas pumps.
Can I just say something?
Of course.
Is it worth discussing limiting the number of pumps? I mean,
I don't think it makes a difference.
okay.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
Do I need more at this point?
No, let's wait for a second, and then you can have more discussion, I guess.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
No, hold on. Any more discussion?
I just want to know,
Oh.
when do we get to the,
Is this
Well,
on
I
the,
think you need to put the conditions on now, the
Oh,
hours of
just
operation, right, yeah,
okay,
stipulations.
so one of the conditions we discussed were the hours of operation, which we discussed as
6 to 9.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Monday through Friday, or all week, all the time?
7 days.
7 days.
Okay.
Okay. The lighting,
We're not there yet.
We could do the lighting with the sign, well, you can do the lighting now if you want to.
I was speaking of the pectrin.
The canopy, yep.
we want to do it
Canopy.
all together?
No, he's doing this is part of the operation of the gas station.
Oh,
right? So
okay,
that's
okay.
right. Makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
When the gas station closes, those,
it goes off.
whatever kind of lighting they use up there, external lighting that they use on that canopy needs to be extinguished.
So all lighting other than safety lighting at the time of the closure would be shut off?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other conditions? The canopy lighting, no halo lighting on the canopy?
Correct.
Okay, so that's another condition. And no price toppers, I think they conceded this, but I think it should be put in the record. No price toppers on the gas pumps and lighting on the pumps to be turned off when the store is not in operation. That was also discussed at one of the prior hearings, but it's important to put it if you got it in the decision. So that's,
Yes.
anything else?
Do we need to add to the conditions about landscape buffering that was submitted in the site plans?
You could if you wanted to. It's probably more of a planning board, but we can put some buffer, if buffering was required, that's, yeah. I don't know how specific we can get, but require buffering.
We don't have to. They can go back to the planning board.
Yeah,
after
they
this.
can require buffering.
Yeah, we can just let them do that.
Is there
I'm sorry.
any thought I had brought up of having only video at the,
Oh, that's, if you want to make that condition, no audio on the gas pumps?
that was my proposal. I'm not sure anybody was for or against that.
When really, no one's gonna hear it, Jay.
What's that?
It doesn't go that far. Like, it's not really doesn't go that far. It's up to you. If you don't like it, it's fine, but,
I'm just put it out there.
Okay,
If
I'm just saying
if
it's
it's not
not.
going to carry, then it's not going to carry.
okay.
I think the evidence was it wouldn't carry.
Okay.
That's it? Anything
Well,
else?
That's what comes to my mind. I don't know if anybody
Anybody
else
else have any
has a
conditions?
condition.
We've had discussed this, knowing that I originally did not agree with it, and I still don't. They had to limit their delivery for night delivery, and they guaranteed they'll do that, which is highly unlikely. But they said they'll even take a fine if we do it. They'll do delivery during the day, but I said we'll do delivery at night only.
You're talking about the gas or
The gas
anything?
delivery
Gas deliveries at
Yeah.
night?
No gas deliveries at night?
during the
No,
day.
only
Only at night. And they said, oh, we'll do it, highly unlikely, but that's what they said.
I mean,
I'm not following this, I'm sorry. I can't.
You asked them that, we said they will only do delivery at night for the
During
gas,
their-
during the
during their
night.
hours of operation?
No, during the night.
After.
After hours of operation.
So that doesn't defeat the
Can they
purpose.
do that?
Isn't that going to be very disruptive to the
We're
neighbors?
talking about the traffic cutting in this truck, we're just talking about safety.
That's a little confusing. Can they do it if it's after their hours of operation?
Well,
That's how we get deliveries at night.
That's the conflict, so I don't, I mean, you could put a condition if that's what you want, but it's up to you.
Trust me. If we're talking about safety, you don't want these trucks coming during the day on that two-lane road. That's just,
We can vote on that separately if you want to.
if you approve it, you don't want them coming during the day.
We can vote on that separately, whatever.
Yeah.
So right now, the conditions are, Madam Clerk, no internally lit signage, including the canopy, no halo lighting on the canopy, all external lighting to be off when the business is closed with the exception of safety security lighting, no price toppers on the gas pumps and lighting on the pumps to be turned off when store is not in operation. Did you have anything else? Just want to. So those are all conditions on the special use permit, and we can have a separate vote on his no deliveries. Well, you can do it now or not, whatever. I don't know what the consensus of the board is of no deliveries at night. Only at night, I'm sorry.
Yeah, only that. Trust me. I mean, I don't know what else I could say. Trust me. I don't care if you trust me or not. So just at this point.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Reluctantly.
Opposed? One. With those conditions, we want to vote separately on the deliveries at night. He didn't put that. I told him we would have a separate vote on the deliveries at night as a condition.
Yeah,
Are you proposing, want to make the motion to do that?
We make a motion to just make the delivery at night for safety reason now that you approve the gas.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And just specify, what does after night mean?
I know, I'm just a little confused
Yeah, we
by
just
it. I'm like, I'm not,
We have to give
Okay.
everyone fair notice, yeah.
yeah.
So
I don't completely disagree with it, I just don't know what it means.
they get their delivery overnight. So
Gas delivery.
gas delivery overnight. They've got 36,000 gallon storage.
No, I understand that,
So
but.
you asked me to explain it.
Does someone have to be there, like if it's.
No, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
They make delivery at night. Trucks make delivery at night all the time.
There doesn't need to be
No
an
one is there.
employee at
No.
the site for
No.
deliveries?
So the only positive for me I feel about now that it's been approved is the fact they're not there during traffic days. If there is a bus, school bus running, and if there's a traffic, if there's snow, that you're not stuck with all these neighbors with this truck trying to make a delivery.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
I don't disagree with that.
Just tell me what after night means, what time?
After hours, like at 9 to,
So after closing?
yeah.
Well, and we also don't want them showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning and making a
Well,
whole
that's
lot of
after
noise.
night, that's, I mean,
But
no,
honestly, I know it's noisy to, people believe it's noisy for them to make a delivery. It is, I don't know, there's a two-edged sword.
I'm sorry?
It's two-edged sword, but it is a lot sharper having them deliver, it cuts harder to deliver.
No, listen, I think the safety is important. I also think people,
And I feel bad for
sleeping
the
is
neighbors, but it's,
so I mean, is
something you
it,
want to do at night.
We do have a noise ordinance though, so I mean, if they are.
It doesn't make that, honestly.
No, I'm just saying, if they are showing up overnight and it is noisy for a neighbor or so on, they could make a complaint saying, hey, we're above our noise ordinance, and then we can reevaluate perhaps?
well, it's either you have it or you don't. I mean,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to understand, like, try to also benefit the neighbors if they're having
I mean,
an
after
issue.
hours means 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's at the dumpster at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm just saying it's.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, they send deliveries in dumpster at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just saying, it is, delivery at night is a lot safer
No, I don't disagree with you at
for
all.
the location of their tanks, the location of their tank right in the front,
Yeah.
which is I'm against.
Yeah.
So to make it safer, let them make the delivery at night where the traffic on the road
I'm not
and the pumps.
disagreeing with you.
okay, all those in favor of the nighttime delivery? All right.
So that's additional condition, okay.
I wonder if you could announce the vote. We can't hear what you're doing.
Oh, sorry.
The
There were,
first vote or the second vote?
So I'll announce it. The special use permit was granted by a vote of 4-1. Three is necessary, so it was a majority, so 3. And then the second vote was to impose an additional condition on the special use permit for deliveries only after hours, after 9 o'clock, and that was 5-0. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. They vote by hands here, I got you. All right, moving on to the drive-through.
I would move to approve. a special use permit for the drive-through.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Do we need any conditions on this one?
Well, the same conditions, 6 to 9.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else that we can
No.
regulate. So, you second it?
I did.
All those in favor? I didn't.
Hold on.
Opposed? Oh,
4 to 1 in favor of the drive-through. Signage. You still got to take a vote.
Yeah, no.
okay. I'm so... I would make a motion to approve, we don't have to vote on the monument, right? We have, the
Yeah,
monument as far as the
setback and
setback and the
height.
height. All those in favor of the monument sign?
Okay, well, sure, well, you want to vote on them separately? Each sign separately?
Isn't that what we're doing?
No, each sign separately, or do it as a package, it's up to you.
Okay,
The sign is, whatever the board wants to do.
okay. To approve the signage with the, that the, as far as the monument sign, that we grant it for the height, additional height and
And setback.
the
Setback.
setback. That the pectin, 2 pectin signs not be internally lit. No halo.
We did that already.
We did that
No
already.
The gas station.
All right.
No
all right.
toppers.
No toppers.
That was
So we're all
the,
set on that, right? Anyone want to second that?
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Are we done?
no, proposed, right?
Oh,
George proposed.
of course.
That was the signage 4 to 1. 4 to 1 on the signage.
It's the right thing.
Well, to be internally consistent.
Okay.
So,
Next. So, council, can you just, so, we're going to need time to write this up. I'm going to want the transcript. Obviously, that's going to be, I don't know how long, but a while. So I'm asking that, that we waive this, I think it's a 10-day requirement, right? I think.
The applicant has no objection to you taking whatever time you need.
I'm going to do some other stuff.
You're requesting a waiver of the time within which to proceed.
This final decision, correct, yeah.
No objection.
All right, thank you. And thank you for that. And we may, depending on, we may bring it back to the board for a final approval of the decision. We don't normally do that, but because of the nature of this case, I think it might warrant it, so,
We have no objection to that.
okay.
Will you be sure to email us a copy of the decision?
Once it's approved, yes. I won't send you a draft one, but yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I might bring back the final written decision to the board for one final vote
On the record.
on the record, that's all.
Understood. I just want to make sure that when the 20-day clock begins to appeal, that I get it.
The appeal will run from the date that the decision is made and recorded, and that's when the 20 days, after the vote, correct.
Right, so you'll give it.
I will give you time, yes, yes.
We agree with that too, for the record.
How much I get? I'm sorry, Ms. Stoltzman, I'm sorry, what did you say?
The applicant agrees with the process.
Okay.
For the record.
I just appreciate that, because it's going to take a while. This is a long decision, a long, it's 16 hearings, so. Okay.
all right, the next matter on the agenda is the approval of our zoning minutes for March 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both.
Thank you. You did an excellent job.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for all your time and board here. I know we've got a little intense at time, but that's the.
It's the name of the game.
Yeah.
But
One question.
Can we just finish the
I
meeting?
just wish we got a paycheck back then.
I move to approve the minutes of March 5th.
I wasn't here.
All those in favor? Unanimous? And, yes.
I didn't vote. I didn't vote on
Move to
that.
adjourn?
Yeah, let's adjourn first. Anything else?
I didn't vote on that. I wasn't here.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, seconded by everybody. All those in favor? Aye, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not an easy night for you.
One question I have is,
We're off the record. We're off the record now, thank you.
why do you have public hearings